Hello and welcome to day 4 of 30 Inks in 30 Days. Today's ink is Warped Passages, so let's get started. When I looked up the phrase warped passages as the topic of today's ink, what I got instead of like a space definition was a book title. And that book title is Warped Passages, Unraveling the Mysteries of the Universe's Hidden Dimensions. And it is by Lisa Randall, who was the quote I wrote from yesterday. And she is a very prominent scientist, physicist in this field. So what I ended up doing, I ordered the book. And I'm not very far in. I'm only about through the introduction. I got a used copy. The introduction is very much so like her thesis statement. So I was able to get enough information for today's video, even though I haven't gotten very far into the book. I've got the basics and now I'm going to get into the meat of it. But this is a really interesting, really good book so far, the little bit I've got into it. It was published in 2005, right before the Large Hadron Collider came online. So she didn't have that data and that information yet, but I think this is still a really good introduction, and it seems to be written in layperson terms. It's not dumbed down. I mean, there's certainly going to be a lot of stuff I need to look up just to understand better or know what she's talking about, but it's very accessible, so I am really excited to continue reading this. What she's talking about is that unseen dimensions, they don't have a name yet, but they represent new directions along which something might travel. So when Dr. Randall needs a name for an extra dimension or for getting to an extra dimension, she calls it a passage. And as she explained, these passages, quote, could be warped like reflections in a funhouse mirror. Thus, warped passages, and the name of today's ink. See, going between 2 points. So that was neat. From her book, quote, physicists today speculate that theories of extra dimensions also will illuminate connections in particle physics and cosmology, connections that are difficult to understand with only 3 dimensions. So that was written as of publication in 2005. So I'm hoping to find more information about the advances in this since then. Just my quick Google searches weren't turning much up. So if you have any insight, please do let me know. I would be very interested to hear about it. Now it's had a moment to dry. Here is today's ink. And it looks like there could be a little bit of a halo right here starting, but I got it pretty heavy there. I would say mostly this is just a shading ink, and honestly, it's not my favorite. Looking at it, it's a pretty enough blue, but I just am not a big fan of how it comes out of the pen. And this is the second pen I've put it in. My first was the TWSBI Eco Stub, I believe was the first one I put it in, and it was just too pale and there wasn't enough shading for me in that stub. And then this, the Pilot Metro nib, which is a very fine nib, especially compared to yesterday's Kaweco medium nib. It's pretty, it's fine, it's nice, but it just doesn't quite do it for me. There is a little bit of shading in the writing, not a huge amount, and I also found that it came out of this nib, it felt like it didn't want to flow, so I wondering if it's kind of a more dry ink. So that might also be part of it. There we go. Today's ink, Warped Passages, all done. If this is something that interests you, I definitely recommend this book. And again, I will link it below if you're interested. It looks and sounds like it's going to be fascinating. I actually have another one of her books. I thought her name sounded familiar. I have Dark Matter and the Dinosaurs. Yes, I have Dark Matter and the Dinosaurs, which is a newer work, and which is why I thought her name sounded familiar, because I already had this. I got it at the Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman. They have so many cool dinosaur fossils there. Space and dinosaurs. That makes me happy. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.